characters, because they're both similar in this sense. This is at least my take. But it seems like the women are the driving force in the film, which is kind of ass backwards than what you'd expect as far as couple swapping and stuff like that. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah. I mean, now I'm thinking about it.
I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting that he puts it that way, and certainly, I think Elena, obviously, yes. Although I would say that, you know, my guy is equally. I just think you hear Elena speaks more.
Yeah.
She's a little bit more verbose, so you might feel that way. Although I think he's equally as, you know, strong about these feelings about open relationships. And it's interesting that I didn't really think of that with Luke and Sylvia, but. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak.
Well, it's funny because Perry's character actually is more verbose.
Right, well, that's
mine.
true. That's true.
He's the one always yapping away, but yet I think that it's really Sylvia who's in control of that relationship.
First.
Well, when I first read it, I tried to read it really neutrally, as an audience member would, and I loved it. And then when I thought about, okay, well, how am I going to play this? That's what, it was embarrassing and difficult to come to. Well, like the first thing I had to do was have a conversation with Rich and figure out how he was going to shoot all these sex scenes, because there was just so much of it, and there was just so much I was willing to do and that I was comfortable doing. So once I cleared up with him and I realized we were on the same page, then, you know, I realized it was just going to be a lot of fun. And knowing that I was going to be working with Perry and then getting Sheetal on board, you know, then suddenly it was just
comfort.
like, it was like,
it's good. You want to surround yourself in these environments with people,
absolutely,
you know, that you're comfortable in, for sure, that you know will have your back and you know have the same goal in mind. It's
right.
Part of it.
When after I was done reading it, you know, I had so many questions for HP, who's the writer, and even after he was like, you know, giving me answers, very long answers, I still was very confused. I still am confused, you know, like if somebody was to ask me what's the message of this movie, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, and
Agreed.
I think that's very true to life, you know. There's a lot of unanswered questions, especially when we're talking about love. You know, it's complex, and so this movie, I think, really shows how life and love can be very confusing, and I think it's especially true for people who are in this kind of situation, who are analyzing their lives, especially when, you know, you're overanalyzing, as these people tend to do.
It's honest. It takes an honest look at things,
exactly.
And that's what Lynn, when Lynn actually just called me and said, "I'm doing this movie. Will you look at this? I think this part might be really right for you." And I read it, and I had the same reaction to her. I laughed a lot. I was taken by it. I was intrigued. I had a lot of questions. I wanted to know, you know, get to know Rich a little bit, and but what I liked the most about it is that it was honest, and it really got to the uncomfortable point. When you watch the movie, Lynn and Perry are so good in it that there are so many scenes where I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe they're doing this right now. But that's because it's so honest. You know, we've all been in so many of those situations, which is, you know, kudos to them and Rich for going there, because that's hard to do. And if you feel like that in the audience, you know that they're touching on something that's really truthful, and that is what I really loved about that script.